What's up guys, Kaidom here, and this video is about working with the examples. So in this video we will see a couple things such as how to add new items, weapons, consumables, working with the special containers, also certain things about containers, crafting, etc. This will be for both examples, so we're going to try to show how to set both of them for so that it works for both examples. What we're gonna do here is I am on the MP map, so the multiplayer example, and we'll see. We'll start by showing how to add a new item. So we're going to add a new weapon and show how to set up the special containers so certain attachments can be installed on this weapon. Also, how to make new attachments for this weapon. Make certain attachments compatible, set up the sockets, as well as ammo types. So we'll add like a new ammo type and make it so that this ammo type can only go on a certain mag on a certain weapon. So let's go ahead and start by making a new pickup. So this pickup will also will work for both examples. So both pickup work for both examples automatically. So I have an M4 here. So let's go ahead and make an M4. So I'm gonna go to, I'm just gonna go ahead and create a folder here, and I'm just gonna call it new or tutorial. So just organize tutorial stuff here. We want to make a new weapon, of course. So in system here we have, if you go to pickup system, we have a main main firearm. So this is a firearm class that inherits from the main pickup class. So this one has attachments added by default, so at least attachment holders and some replication stuff here. So when you install a new attachment, it gets replicated automatically. So what we want to do here is either we can create a child out of this class or duplicate one of the existing classes. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click here and create a child blueprint class. And so I'm gonna call this like M4. I guess M4 is fine. Let's go ahead and save here. So this one is our M4 pickup class that inherits from main firearm class. And so because we inherited from our parent class, of course, we do inherit all the logic of that parent class. So let's go ahead and move this M4 to our tutorial folder here. So let's go ahead and drag that into our tutorial here. I'm just gonna go ahead and do move here. And here we go. So this is our M4 class. Of course, the first thing we want to do here is modify any visuals that we need. So assigning, of course, a new skeletal mesh, etc. So let's go ahead and select a skeletal mesh for this weapon. So I'm going to go ahead and look for my M4 here, if I have that. Let's see, AR. So I'm going to use this rifle here, or mesh, I guess. So as you can see, this mesh doesn't have a mag, so because we're gonna have the mag separate or like installed by like the attachment system, and of course it doesn't have anything extra. So simple material because we don't need anything crazy right now. So this is our pickup that we will be able to equip to our character, of course pick up from the ground, etc. So let's go ahead and add this M4 to our data table so that it is recognizable, or at least has some info when we pick it up. So I'm going to my Jigsaw Inventory here. I'm going to system, so I can add it to my data table weapons, or I can create a new data table if I want. So I'm gonna go ahead and add it to my data table weapon, and here you're gonna find these default ones. You can like right click here, duplicate, and by the way I'm working with 4.25. So I always encourage you to work with the latest version because it has all the latest features. So for example, this right click duplicate doesn't exist on 23, I think. I'm not sure about 24, but this is like a new feature. But regardless, for this one, we're just gonna go ahead and do add here. We're not gonna duplicate, so add to add a new row. And this is very important. The ID of this item needs to be entered here, an item ID, and also be the same for the row name here. So we're gonna go ahead and do M4 here, simple ID here, and this is like the row name here that we set here. Now as you can see, item ID is still set to none, so it has to be the same thing. So this makes it easier when you wanna look for like a certain pickup info in the data table, and you have access to the item ID. So if the item ID is similar to the row name, so you can just search by row name in the data table. But make sure, once again, row name and item ID are the same. So in our case here is M4. This unique ID is a server side thing, so we don't care about that. So for the type here, it's a rifle. And if you want to add more types here, you want to go to System and Data, and you will find GSI item type. So you can add new types here if you want. And also you have attachment type, container type, install rarity. So you can modify these structs in enums and structs however you want. So a data table is also just a struct. So if we look at this info right here, it's simply a struct. So let's go ahead and find this struct, and it is the if item info. So this item info is a struct, as you can see, and you can make a data table out of a struct. So if I want to have more options here, I can simply add more variables to this struct. So if I want to add like something else, some information, I can add it a new variable, and I should have access to it here in the data table. So once again, if you need to add new things, just go ahead and add new things to this struct. So let's go ahead and fill in the rest of the information here. So we have rifle as the type here, the rarity, we can set it to rare, why not? Also for the rarity, if you want to modify it once and it works for all containers, you can go to System, Widget, and then GSI container here. And then you want to go to the graph section, and then you want to go to look for rarity settings, rarity colors, and then you want to go to the details panel here, and then you want to expand this, and then you should have like common, rare, and of course epic and legendary. And you want to modify this inside of GSI container, like modify whatever rarities you want, and that should be applied for everything, for all containers. So you only need to modify it once here. So let's go ahead and continue here. So what we need here, rare, it doesn't stack, don't care about max stack. I don't have any particular image for this M4, so I'm just gonna use the normal one here. So rifle 1, and then of course when it gets equipped, you can also set some other image if you want. If this is not set, then it will always use the inventory image. For slot dimensions, we can make it a 5 by 2. For count is 1, weight 75. Why not? We don't care. We don't really care about this right now. So price, we can set it to 150. Item name, I'm just gonna go ahead and do M4. The display name here, M4 as well. So the display name is the name displayed on the item in the inventory at the top left. So if you have like a long name, usually the display name you want it to be short, like this. But for our case here, we're just gonna go ahead and set it M4 for both of them. Description, we don't really care about that. Drag and drop sound, you can just set the same thing here. So what's this? This is picked and moved. All right, so let's look for picked here. Item picked or gun picked, sure. And dropped here. Item dropped. There you go. All right, so container, yes. So this one is going to be a container because it's going to be a container for attachments, a magazine like a suppressor, etc. So container dimension here, we don't care about it because it will use a special container. So if you use a special container, this doesn't matter here. If you don't use a special container, it will create a container for this item and it will use these dimensions. So it's like a backpack container, the basic backpack container, the 5 by 4 or whatever. So yeah, if you are going to use a special container, which we will use here, you don't care about this. So container supported items, this applies for this one. So we don't care about that. But if you see here if I go to containers here, armor, I'm not sure if it's an armor. Let's see, where's the backpack? Okay, so this is a basic backpack. This does not have a special container. And as you can see, we set the container dimensions to 5 by 6. And obviously it supports everything. If you leave this empty, it will support everything. Whereas, let's see, if you go to wallet here, it's the same thing, but we added some container supported items, which is currency 1 and currency 2. So you can't add anything to this container that is not currency 1 or currency 2. If you want more control over your containers, I suggest you make everything a special container. Even a basic backpack, you want it to be a special container. Why? So that you have more control over the special container. You can like add like custom logic to it. You can modify the visuals a little bit, etc. So you can make it like has some extra features if you want. But if you want a quick container such as the wallet with like 2x2 or something like that, you can make it a container here and just like assign the container dimensions. So for now, we'll make this open container on double click. We don't care about that. Rotated, this is false by default. Actor class, this is very important. So when you want to drop the item or something, you get the actor class. So let's go ahead and look for that M4 pickup that we created earlier, which is this one right here. Supported attachment IDs, this is also not important right now because it is applied for this right here, the container dimensions. That container will be created and it will only support these IDs, not necessarily attachments, but it can, like basically you're indicating what are the supported items. So if when we create a mag later, we will use this to set the supported bullet types for that mag. So attachment info, this can be used for something extra about attachments, but for now it's not used. So this is the important part, and our rifle is first of all a container, and it will use a special container. So here we will indicate the special container, and of course we want to enable opening that special container when we double click on the item. Special container dimensions, this is only important in multiplayer. If you're only interested in single player, we don't care about this. But for multiplayer, the server doesn't know what a widget is. So we provide the special container as a widget here for client-side things. But for the server needs to know what this special container is. So we need to provide that data form. So we'll see that later. So first of all, we'll create the special container and then we'll assign or like set the dimensions of this special container. So data table reference is just the same one we're working on right now, which is weapons. So let's go ahead and select that, weapons. The next step here is M4, which is the item ID. We need to assign that here in the pickup component. So in the pickup component, first of all, you need to indicate where this pickup right here exists in the data table, which data table. So that would be weapons, and then we'll set the item ID of this pickup that exists on the data table, which is M4. And this section here is default attachments. So we can set whatever attachments this weapon starts with. So if you spawn it in the world or in the map and you want this weapon to have a magazine by default and with some ammo, this is the place where we set that. But we'll come back to this later when we set up some attachments first. So go ahead and compile here, and for now, if I just go ahead and put this pickup in the world, let's see if I have physics enabled first. So select the skeleton, or skeletal, look for physics, and here we go. So you should simulate physics here. If you don't have this option enabled, that means you don't have a physics assets assigned for your skeletal mesh. Or if it's a static mesh, you don't have collision, so you need to add some simple collision. So we said simulate physics, but of course to simulate physics you need to have the right collision. So let's go ahead and search for collision here. Make sure you are selecting your skeletal mesh first. So as you can see, we have no collision. That's not right. So we need to have some collision there. So let's go ahead and do make it instead of no collision, we'll do custom. First of all, make it ignore everything, and then we'll set whatever things it needs to consider. So collision enabled, we're going to do collision enabled query and physics. Query is used for line traces, while physics, of course, is used for physics. So we're going to select both, and then we'll make it a world dynamic. Why not? So we'll make it block visibility because that's the channel we're using for line traces, which is visibility. So it needs to block it so that we are able to trace to it and pick it up. And then we'll make it maybe block static and dynamic, so it doesn't like fall through the floor or something like that. And of course, simulate physics should be enabled here by default. All right, so go ahead and compile, and let's go ahead and check if we can interact with this pickup. And as you can see, we can. That's the M4 is the name, and of course you can pick it up. But of course we don't have any sockets for it, as you can see. So that is our next step. As you can see here, the red message here. If you get this, that means you didn't set up the sockets for this pickup. So we'll do that first, and then we'll go back to our special container so that we can have like some attachments installed. So M4, let's open our character here. So let's go at TPMP character. I'm going to open the character just so I have access to the mesh here. I'm going to find the mesh and then open it. I'm going to go to the animation tab here, and I'm going to find some rifle animation here. So equip rifle, idle, sure, let's go ahead and take the idle. So what you want to do here is you want to make some sockets so that the weapon is equipped to your character. Let me just quickly remove these preview items. I'll show you later how to add the preview items. So there you go. So you want to find the hand R or whatever socket you want to use, and then you want to right click here and do add socket. And so you should have like this new socket. Default name is hand underscore R or something. I'm going to go ahead and press F2 so I can rename it, and I'm going to go ahead and rename it to M4 socket. So this is my M4 socket. Then I'm going to right click on it and do add preview asset, and then I'm going to add that M4 pickup. And there you go. As you can see, we need to set it up. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm just going to quickly just get it to a position that is acceptable. So this is probably fine. You can rotate, you can move as well. You can also enable snapping as well. I always recommend to remove snapping here, so you have full control. So this is our socket for when the weapon is equipped to the character. But when the weapon is not equipped or in the character's back, then we'll make another socket. But for now, let's go ahead and create the entry for this particular pickup so that at least we can like start to fill in some sockets here. So what you want to do here is you want to go to system and find DT equipment mesh data. And as you can see, it already has some stuff to like set whatever skeletal mesh gets equipped to the character. But for our case here, we want to set the socket. So we're going to click add. Once again, it's DT equipment mesh data. This is where you set your sockets. Gonna go ahead and click add here, and then this create a new row which has nothing. So we're going to start by entering or indicating the row name and item ID. Once again, they need to be identical. And what we need to enter here is of course just the ID of the pickup from the pickups data table. In our case here, it's the data table weapons. We have this M4, so we need to grab this ID, which is M4, and then indicate it here. So going to enter M4 here, and the same thing for row name. Very important, has to be the same thing. So essentially, you're indicating the ID from the other data table, which is in our case here weapons. And then equip scale. We don't care about this. This is mainly for clothing types such as like an armor or like a shirt or whatever. You can indicate whatever skeletal mesh gets equipped to the character, but in our case we only care about sockets. So equip to socket, we want this M4 socket that we just created, so I'm gonna go hit F2 and copy that, and then I need to indicate the inequip socket 1 and 2. These sockets of course are in the back of the character. So I'm just going to go ahead and select spine 3 or spine 2. Let's go ahead and go with spine 3. Add socket. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and rename it to M4 holder, for example. Let's go ahead and indicate 1 there. And while I'm at it here, I'm just going to go ahead and do Control W. See if I can. No, I can't duplicate that. I'm just going to go ahead and add another one here. Just get it out of the way. Spine 3, add socket, and I'm just going to go ahead and do M4 holder 2. Oops, there you go. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy these two sockets, and I'm going to indicate them here. Holder 1 and then holder 2. So these are the sockets that I'm going to use to like in-equip my weapon. Then I'm going to back to the character, and I'm going to right click here, add preview, asset, and then I'm going to select the same skeletal mesh here, and as you can see, it's going to add that there, and I simply need to essentially add it to the back. So once again, I'm going to try to do something, you know, nice. So we're just going to quickly do it there. Just make sure it's not too ugly. So that's number one, and then of course I can probably just copy it from the other socket and just reverse the X and Y, but where's the other one? M4 socket. Okay, hold on. M4 holder. Here we go. Just add a preview. M4. There you go. So for the other socket, we're gonna do the same thing here, and I'm just simply going to put it here real quick. There you go. So that's good enough. So now I should be able to go and get this weapon equipped to my character. As you can see, it is equipped normally, and of course if I hit X, the weapon will go to holder 1 or holder 2 based on if it's a primary or secondary. By the way, this command is toggle debug camera. If you enter this command in your console, you'll be able to eject from your character and fly around and see if things are attached properly or not. And then of course you enter the same command to go back to your character. So of course this error is probably about our special containers, so let's go ahead and take care of that. I'm gonna go ahead and close these animations, and of course our so remember, sockets, indicate them here, and DT equip mesh data, and this is true for both examples. So let's go ahead and talk about special containers for this particular pickup. I'm going to go to system here, widgets, special containers, and I already have some special containers here. I can duplicate or create a new widget. It's totally up to you, but we can create a new widget if you want. So I'm just gonna go back here to tutorial. I'm going to right click here, widget blueprint, and I'm going to call it M4 underscore special container. And a special container is essentially a container but with multiple slots or multiple containers essentially. So this will not be added to the viewport, so let's go ahead and delete the canvas, and we'll go ahead and add a border here. There you go. Maybe we'll add like an overlay as well, so I'll go ahead and add an overlay here, and then I'm going to desired here, and then I'm going to add an image to the overlay. So I'm not going to go too much on how widgets work, like basically adding something such as an overlay or border. I think there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube for that, but we will be explaining how to set up the GSI containers in here. So for this image, you can do it like a render target to like kind of preview the weapon at real time, or in our case here, we'll simply work with an image. So I'm going to name that to weapon image, why not? I'm going to select an image here, maybe that rifle one, sure. There you go, and border here, I'm going to change the tint or brush color. Let's see, we can do something like this. Doesn't really matter. So far we haven't done anything crazy or like anything related to GSI. We just made a quick widget. We'll start adding new GSI containers to this one. So it's the same process for anything that has a special container. And a tactical rig, for example, has a special container, and we'll create one later and do the same thing. But for now, we will make we'll add like a GSI container here and drop it over the overlay here. And of course, we will go to a container type. We'll make it a equip to, and rows and columns to 1. And then maybe for the slot size, we will leave it at 60/60. It doesn't really matter. So let's make this our magazine. So mag container. Then you want to select the container, go down to the permissions here, and enable receive all and handle events. I believe this is used in the first example. I'm not sure. We'll see that later if we run into issues. But for now, make sure this is checked. Receive all and handled events. So next here, we're going to copy this one around to make more containers. But for now, let's go ahead and change the location a little bit. So feel free to use whatever you want. You can use vertical boxes, horizontal boxes, spacers, whatever you want. But for our purposes here, we'll simply use the padding. So first of all, make it at center here, and then maybe maybe I should change the size. Maybe you can make it like a 120 here if we want. You can change the right a little bit by 10 maybe, and then the top by 25 maybe. So that looks about right. So once again, we're not trying to make any make it perfect. So we're just trying to make a quick example here. So of course now for more containers, you can simply like do copy and then say overlay, Control V. And then I can put it here for now, and I can make this a site container. Site container. And I can maybe, okay, since it's a site, I'm gonna set that to 60 by 60, and I could put it here, for example. So let's see, for alignment, we can put it here maybe, and then at the top, something like that. Maybe at the middle here. And then we can change the padding a little bit here. So from the left, I'm going to add a little bit of padding there, so maybe 100. Okay, that looked a little bit too much, so 50 maybe, but it seems like they're overlapping a little bit there, so I'm just going to add maybe 60 there. Maybe from the top, maybe I should add some padding here for the container here. So maybe 5 there, maybe 10. Yeah, sounds about right. Okay, so this is good enough for now. So at least we have 2 containers that we can work with. So make sure, once again, both of them have the receive all and handled events checked. So since we just copy pasted, they should also, of course, preserve same thing. So feel free, of course, here to. So we'll go back later to modify these supported items, because obviously we don't want to add anything on these containers. Only certain items. But first of all, this is very important, otherwise it's not going to work. So we're going to class settings here, and then interfaces, and then we'll look for JSI special widget interface. And once you do that, you should now have access to a new function. So if you go to interfaces here, now we have these functions now. So get list of containers. This is very important. We're going to do make, and then of course we'll add as many containers as we have. So we have 2, and this is also very important. The mag needs to be the first container. So go ahead and add a comment here. Mag has to be first. So basically it has to be at index 0. So go ahead and select mag, and this is a trick with widgets. If you select it here and then you go to the graph, it's automatically selected here as well. So you can just, oops, need to do that. So go ahead and drop it here, and then of course our site container here. And of course, as we add more containers, we can just add new pins here. So this is our first very important function, interface function. Also, we're going to add a new event. So this is a special container, but we don't have access to the owner, which is the rightful item in the inventory. So that we can get that from the set item reference here. I can't drag that apparently, so I'll just look for it. So event set item, and here we go. So this event will trigger when we get the when the item itself create the special container. So it's a JSI slot. So let's go ahead and promote that to a variable. We're going to call it m4 item reference, something like that. Also for the owner here, this is used in the first example. So we have event owner, set actor owner. So I'm going to cast that to main firearm class, and then I'm going to promote that to a variable. So weapon ref. So this is used in the first example so we'll use it here to update attachments. Meanwhile, in the multiplayer example, the server replicates attachments, so you don't have to do it here client side. So looking at this special container, we have 2 containers, and they're both equipped to. So we need to indicate this in the data table. So we'll go back here to our M4, And then for our special container, we'll select the M4 special container. And then special container dimensions. This is once again important for multiplayer. So you need to provide the layout of your special container. What we can see here is that we have two containers. So we need to add two items. There you go. And if it's an equip to, like the dimensions don't matter. Because equip to can take anything, even like its size doesn't really matter. It can be like 50 by 50, it can be equipped. Whereas if it would be like an inventory type, the size of course matters here. But since it's an equip to, we need to simply put -1 here. So if you put -1 in both of them, that means it's a equip to, and the size doesn't matter. So make sure you add -1 here. And later with the tactical rate that we will create, you'll see here that we will indicate proper sizes of the container. So going back here, as you can see, it's an equip to, so this one doesn't really matter. However, if it would be an inventory type, then of course the size of the item or of the container matters, because when we add something to it, of course we need to verify if we can actually add that, if that item can fit in the container. But with equip twos, it doesn't matter. So we set -1 here. Very important. So this is basically it for a special container. If we add more containers, we'll come back here and add more. But for now, it should work just fine. So let's go ahead and talk about attachments. So let's go ahead and add some attachment to this weapon. So I'm going here to my pickup here, and I'm going to start by adding my first attachment, which is going to be the sight. So let's go ahead and make a new pickup here. So I think I have a new sight here. Let me search for it. So here we go. So I have this sight. So let's go ahead and make an attachment out of this, or a pickup. So SMT4 sight. Let's go ahead and make a new pickup here. So I'm going to tutorial. No, I'm going to Jigsaw Inventory, going to examples, and then simple pickups, static mesh pickups, and we have attachments here. So we have this site. We can probably just duplicate this. So let's go ahead and copy this one right here, the site. I'm going to drag it over my tutorial here. I'm going to do copy. So I copied that. I did not create a child. This is the second method of creating new items. If you have existing ones, just duplicate them and change the ID and mesh, etc. The same thing if you have a new weapon, you can just simply like duplicate. Because otherwise you're gonna have to set the physics again, collision, etc. So if you duplicate, it's much easier. You can simply change the mesh and ID. Let's just go ahead and call it new site. Why not? Going to open that, and then I'm going to the viewport here. So this is our default site. I'm going to select the main static mesh there. So I'm going to select that T4, I think. So SMT4, here we go. So there you go. And of course, if you see that you have some color here, just go to the construction script here and just change, delete this. So it's just essentially just changing the dynamic, or creating a dynamic color. So now we should have our site working just fine. So this is our new site. Let's go to the data table now. So this time we'll go to the JSI system. We'll go to attachments here, and we'll create our new site. So this time I'm going to duplicate the site here. So I'm going to do duplicate, and then I'm going to call it new site. New site, and once again, the same thing. Row name needs to be the same as the item ID. There you go. So the type is weapon attachment. Very important. Rarity doesn't matter. For the icon, I don't have anything for that pickup, so I'm just going to leave this gear. Start dimensions is 1 by 1, that's fine. Count, weight, all this don't matter really. So new site, here we go. So for the display names, make it new site in one word. Description doesn't really matter as well. So this site is not a container, so it's a simple item. Container supported items. It is not a container, so I'm just gonna go ahead and clear that. Actor class is our new site, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, you can set your crafting here, but we'll talk about that later. But for now, we need to indicate the same data table, which is attachment. So it's already set because we duplicate that. So our new pickup is new site. So let's go ahead and copy this item ID. and then go to our pickup here, pickup component, and just indicate that ID. Once again, make sure that physics is enabled here. Physics, simulate physics. All right, so everything is good. So let's go ahead and put our new pickup in the ground here. Tutorials, new site, put it here. Go and play. See if I can pick it up. And as you can see, I can pick it up. And of course, it has this icon. And this is the display name here, as you can see, new site. So let's also go ahead and pick up our rifle here and make sure that the special container is actually recognized. And as you can see, we have our special container here. Let me go ahead and pick up the site once again. And as you can see, it says 1,000 there. That's the magazine capacity. So it should say 0. So if we drag this here, as you can see, it's going to go, but of course you don't have any attachments set up, so it's not going to show in the weapon. So let's go back to our special container here, and we forgot to set up a new, a very important function, which is get container by attachment type. This is also very important. And so we will use the select node here, and we'll put the type. So this one wants a container based on attachment types. So since here we only have 2, which is the site and the mag, we'll simply return those. So hold control and drag here. So the site, there you go, and for the mag, there you go. So later we'll add more attachments here. But it's essentially the same process. But the most important thing, of course, is setting up like local attachments, so that when you equip a site, you want to see it on your weapon. So this is what we're going to use now. Let's also make sure that this site only takes in certain sites, not everything. And you can do that by going here, supported item types. I'm gonna make that attachment here, weapon attachment. There you go. And so this is the general type, weapon attachment. That's what it supports. And of course here you wanna enter all the sites that you wanna support on this equipment slot. So only support these IDs. We're going to put in new site, and then we have like some other site, the default site, which is simply called site. So we'll enter both of them. So now this container only supports these 2 items right here. And of course for the mag we'll set that later, but for now let's go ahead and make sure it also supports in general weapon attachments, but then we'll set up the well, let's go ahead and just preemptively do it here. So M4 mag, why not? We'll create it later. Of course, you can add more mags types that would go in this M4 as well here by clicking on the plus sign here. So we're almost done with the special container here. We'll go back later to maybe set some custom behavior for these 2 containers. So now let's go ahead and talk about local attachments. So we have this new site. This is a pickup. It's replicated and everything. However, when you install a site, you generally don't want to install the pickup version, because otherwise you're going to have to add like new logic to it. Because if you have like a laser sight, you want to add like those particle effects, etc., and it's kind of not ideal. So what you want to do here is make a local version of this new site, and that's where you indicate your custom logic for that attachment. So you destroy this one because you don't need it anymore. It's installed in the weapon, and then you install the local version. Also, I'm just gonna add everything here. I know I should probably organize these things, but I'm just trying to keep it in one screen. Or like one folder. So we'll go to JSI here, examples, and then simple pickups, static mesh, and then do we have local here? Attachments, there you go. So attachments, local attachments. So these are local attachments. These are not replicated. They just get installed when a certain variable gets replicated. So they all inherit from main local attachment, so we can create a child or duplicate one of these. So let's go ahead and duplicate one of these. So I'm going to drag the local site here, and I'm going to copy. So copy here, and then I'm going to call it local new site. All right, and then I'm going to open that. Make sure the construction script is empty. Nice. All right, so viewport, and I'm going to select the static mesh, and I'm going to select that T4 site. There you go. Obviously the orientation doesn't really matter here. So we'll go to the weapon itself now. I don't think it wants anything else. No. All right. So now we will be working with another data table, but for before that, we need to access the skeletal mesh of the weapon itself. So we can set up some sockets. So I'm going to add a new socket here. Of course, your weapon might be different, but in general, you just want to add a new socket. So add socket, I'm going to rename that to site or new site, why not? And then I'm going to right click here, add preview, and then I'm going to look for that T4. And then I'm going to, of course, try to put it somewhere where it should be installed, of course. So I think that looks fine. That looks acceptable, actually. So we'll leave it there. Of course, you probably want to get rid of this as well, but it's just an example. So we'll work with this. So the socket for this site is new site. So the next step is go in Jigsaw Inventory system, and then we have a local attachments data table. So DT local attachments. And this is where we set up our local attachments. So similar to the sockets, here we want to indicate the ID of the site in the pickup data tables. So if we go here, new site is the ID here. So new site is the ID, and we're going to indicate that here. So row name is new site, and same for the ID here. Socket here is this one right here, the socket that you named here. So we'll put in there the socket, and then the type is site. As you can see here, we have type, and earlier you saw the enumeration where you can add more types if you want. So type is site, and then attachment class is the local attachment that we created. So as you can see, this is filtered by main local attachment, and it will only show those local attachments. So we're going to select the local new site. Here we go. So now if we install that attachment on the weapon, it should be installed on the socket and of course displayed correctly. And once again, this is where you would add your logic for this particular site. So let's go ahead and give it a try. So I'm going to play here, and then I'm going to pick up my M4 here, and then the new site. Let's go ahead and switch to first person. And then I'm going to drag it here. And as you can see, it gets installed on the weapon. And this is all replicated and everything is fine. Okay, so before we're talking about default attachments, let's go ahead and add our mag and ammo for this M4. So I'm going to my tutorial here, and I'm going to duplicate this new site right here. So I'm going to Control W or right click duplicate. Duplicate here, I'm going to call it M4 mag. So this is going to be my M4 mag. Let's go ahead and open that. Go into the viewport here, select the main static mesh, and then let's see if I have a mag here. AKM. Guess this looks fine. Okay, that looks fine. Okay, so this is our M4 mag. Maybe we should change the color to something that we can see. There you go. So I'm going to directly here indicate the ID, then I'm going to enter it in the data table. So I'm going to say M4 mag. I think we already added it, no? All right, so now we're going to data table attachments here, and then we don't have that. So go ahead. So I'm going to duplicate the mag here. So right click duplicate, and then I'm going to call this M4 mag in the row name and as well as the ID. So this is a container. So the first thing you want to do here with a magazine or these type of containers is you want to indicate the max stack. This value will be used to determine the capacity of the mag. So in our case here, we'll make it a 30 rounders. So 30 rounds for this mag, so we enter 30. And the most important thing, of course, is you need to indicate it as a container here. Let's go and change these to M4 magazine. There you go. So for the container here, you can leave it 2x2, but if this magazine is going to support a lot of ammunition and you can like mix multiple ammunitions at once, you might want to make it bigger. But in general, 2x2 should be fine because it auto stacks. If you have similar types, it will stack them automatically. But yeah, we'll leave it 2x2 for now. We can increase if you want. Support a container supported attachments items. So you want to click here and you add ammunition here as the supported attachments, not attachments, supported items. So only ammunition can go in this container. So open container on double click. No, we don't want that. Actor class is the M4 magazine here. And then what else here? Supported attachment IDs. This is where we indicate what ammo is supported by this magazine. So we haven't created any ammo yet, but we'll do it in a moment. Doesn't have any special containers, and everything seems fine. So let's go ahead and make our ammo here for this magazine. Yeah, for this M4 magazine. So let's go ahead and add it here. It doesn't really matter. So we'll right click here, duplicate, and then I'm going to call it M4 ammo. Can name it 556 or whatever you want, but for now I'm just gonna name it M4 ammo, just so that we know it's an M4 ammo. I'm going to indicate the item ID, same as row name, M4 ammo. Type is ammunition. Rarity doesn't matter. Can stack true. Max stack here. You can, of course, set your max stack. For now, I'm gonna set it to 99. Bullet image. I'm going to use the one that I have here, but you can of course modify these however you want. Still dimensions, I'm going to keep it 1 by 1. Display name here, I'm going to call it like 556 whatever. So name, so we can do like 45 there, and then here we'll just keep it like 556, maybe 0.45. No, just do an X there. So what else here? Do we have a pickup for it? We don't, so I'm going to search for this one, and I'm just going to duplicate, copy here. So tutorial, copy, and I'm just going to name this M4 ammo 1 maybe you can have multiple, but M4 ammo 1, and then I'm going to open that, and then I don't care about the mesh here. I don't have any ammo mesh, so I'm interested in here, so attachments, I'm going to set that to M4 ammo. Okay, going back to the attachment here, so now we can indicate that actor class M4 ammo 1. So this is not a container, so we don't care about these. Okay, I believe that's all we need. So let's go ahead and copy this M4 ammo ID, go back to the M4 magazine here, and now you can indicate that as a supported ammunition. So let's see, supported attachment IDs. Of course, you might have this cleared like this. So supported attachment IDs, click on the plus sign here, and then enter that M4 ammo. So our mag is M4 mag. It doesn't have any ammo by default. So let's go ahead and drop our ammo and mag in the ground here. So here's the M4 mag right there, and here's the ammo, M4 ammo 1. So what's the default count here? So let's see, M4 ammo, default count is 15, which is fine. We can test the stacking like that. All right, so let's go ahead and try. Let's go ahead and duplicate this a little bit. You can hold Alt if you want to duplicate items. Let's go ahead and play here and see if everything is working as intended. So pick up our M4 here, pick up our mag. It says M4 mag with 0 out of 30 capacity, and of course our 556 by 45 ammo there, and as you can see it's auto stacks there, and we can move it there as you can see. Let me also add the other type just to make sure that it is respecting the supported ammo. So I'm going to examples here, simple pickups, static mesh, attachments maybe, attachments, and then we have bullet. Do we have bullet anywhere? Don't think so. That's a quick way here is going here, look for the actor bullets. There you go. So this is the default one. Let's go ahead and change the color here. Okay, there you go. So let me just make sure that this mag actually respects the that ammo. So normally we shouldn't be able to drag this. Oh, that's a sight. There we go. So I shouldn't be able to do that. There you go. So I shouldn't be able to put that because it's not supported. However, I can put this in here. 556. There you go. Should be fine now. Let's go ahead and talk about default attachments, and then we'll talk about or like fix the ammo not showing at the bottom left. So going back to my tutorial here, and then I'm going to let's start with the mag. So M4 mag. So if you want this magazine to have ammo by default, what you want to do here is select the pickup component. Of course, works for both examples. And then you want to go to default attachments. Then you want to click here, and then you want to indicate the type here, very important, ammunition. And then the mag ammo here. Let me just go ahead and copy that. So in this M4 rifle magazine, I want, not that. So in M4 mag, I want this magazine to start with a certain amount of ammo by default. So I'm going to indicate the ID. I want it to be M4 ammo. Type is ammunition, and then let's just say that it starts with 25 bullets. And of course, you can set it by default here if you want, or in the world. So now if I go pick up this magazine right now, as you can see, it's going to start by 25 by default, 25 out of 30. You can also do it like if you have another magazine here, you can go to the details here and then go to select the component here, and you can like modify from here. So if you want like these to be different in the world, you can do that, or you can like set up multiple configurations, and the way you do that is by simply creating a child. So you can like M4 mag, create a child and modify it however you want. Of course, place both items in the world. Now what about weapons? Weapons is the same thing. So as you can see, this weapon is naked, so we can make it so that it starts with certain items. So we'll go to M4 here and we'll select the pickup component. I'm going to go to default attachments, and I'm going to make it so that it starts with a sight, and that's going to be not M4, new sight. And of course, this automatically looks in the data table and the attachments data table. So new sight is the same, count 1, count doesn't matter. And then I'm going to add a magazine here. So I'm going to do M4 mag, and it's a magazine, and count is 1 as well. And then if you want to add ammo to this mag, make sure the mag is the first thing added, then the ammo. So now that we added the mag, we can add ammo if you want. Now, of course, this is optional. If you don't want the mag, if you want the mag to be empty, don't do this. Don't add this ammo here. So M4 ammo and ammunition. Now these types are very important. Make sure you don't forget to set the proper type here. So ammunition, and then I can make it start with 30 bullets. Why not? So let's go ahead and play here, and let's see if this weapon starts with a mag. Of course, it doesn't start with the mag because we didn't set the socket for it, but at least it starts with the sight, as you can see, and it has the mag here, 30 out of 30. So we'll fix the visual here later in the special container, but let's go ahead and fix the mag first. So I'm going to select this, open this. I'm going to right click here, add socket, and I'm going to call it M4 mag. And then I'm going to add a visual to it. It's going to be an M4 mag. I think it's this one. Yeah. And then of course you can like let's see. Yeah, that looks fine. So it doesn't matter how pretty it looks. We just need it to be functional for this example, of course. So let's go ahead and copy that M4 mag, and of course we need the local attachment for it as well. All right. So going back to the tutorial here, and I have this local new site. I'm going to right click, duplicate, and I'm going to call it local M4 mag, and then oops, I'm going to open that local M4 mag, and then I'm going to select the static mesh there, and I'm going to set it as the M4 mag there. So there you go. Probably didn't change the color. There you go, that's fine. And that's our local mag. So let's go and close this, go to the data table, local attachments. So that in system, here, local attachments, there you go. And I'm going to add new, and the item here is M4 mag from the attachments data table, and the socket is M4 mag, I think. M4 mag, yes. Where's the, there you go, and yep. Okay, so this is very important. Mag is the type, and attachment class will indicate that M4 mag local. So now, and of course make sure you indicate the row name here to M4 mag. There you go. So let's go ahead and try now, and we should have our weapon starting with a mag, as you can see. So it's starting with a mag and a sight, and of course that mag has 30 bullets. So let's go ahead and check here. As you can see, it says 30, and of course the visual here is updated as well. However, it's not looking, the 30 out of 30 is not set on the weapon, so that needs to be fixed in the special container. So as you can see here, we see here 30 out of 30, but it's not visible here. So this is where you set your custom logic for this special container. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to tutorial and look for my M4 special container, and then I'm going to handle the event for when a mag is equipped to the weapon. So I'm going to select the mag, and then I'm going to the event graph here, and then we'll do a do once here. After we set the reference, we can handle the events for these containers. So mag container, I'm gonna go ahead and get the mag container, and then I'm going to do bind equip change. So we can bind this event for when this mag container is equipped or unequipped. So you can drag from event here, add event, then add custom event. It should fill in the parameters automatically. So on mag equipped. So we're gonna go ahead and do a little small delay here. So we'll add a small delay here just in case if this event is not handled and there's already a mag, for example. So we'll do this for now, and then we will do is equipped. If it's true, then we'll get the M4 item reference, which is the M4, of course. So grab that. Then we'll do show weapon mag size. There you go. So if it's false, of course, we'll just show 0 out of 0. Make sure you set the target here. So 0 out of 0 because there is no mag. So current and max capacity should be 0 there, of course. But if there is a mag, we'll get the capacity from the slot reference, which is the mag equipped. So get capacity, get mag capacity. It will return the capacity and the max capacity. So now, if we, of course, if we put this, it should show 30 out of 30, as you can see there. Then, of course, for updating the ammo, as we, of course, shoot or something, we need to add a event called JSI check status. And then, of course, here we can like kind of re-evaluate what's going on. So we can say, okay, let me grab the mag container here. So I'm going to say if this is equipped, so equipped. So is equipped true, then I'm going to simply do get equipped item, which is of course the mag. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to put this here, and of course I need to get the capacity. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy paste here and do that. There you go, and there you go. All right. So of course, if we're not equipped, you can simply do 0 0 here. So let's go ahead and give it a try here. So we'll pick up the weapon here, and so as you can see, it's updating here, but not at the bottom. So if you open it, the mag shows the correct amount. Of course, the weapon shows the correct amount. And of course, that can be fixed by simply telling the character to update the count. And so you can like get player character. So we can cast that to TP empty character. And then we can simply tell the character to update the ammo. So update ammo. There you go. So now if we pick up the weapon and start shooting, you should see at the bottom left that it updates just fine. So you also want to add a muzzle socket to your rifle. So shooting works. So muzzle, and then of course you want to move that to the where the muzzle is, of course. So we'll just put it there. So since we're talking about special containers, let's go ahead and make our custom tactical rig, so we get that out of the way. So let's go here to tutorial. I'm just gonna make a new folder. I'm gonna call it tac rig, because this stuff is for M4. This is for tac rig. So I'm going to right-click user interface blueprint. I'm going to call it tac rig new container, like new tac rig. Why not new tac rig? Alright, so once again, I'm going to delete the canvas here, set this to desired. So this time I'm going to add a border. No need for an overlay, I don't think, for now. And then I'm going to add a vertical box. And then inside this vertical box, I'm going to make 2 horizontal boxes. So I'm going to add 1 and then add 2. So a vertical box with 2 horizontal boxes. I'm going to make a spacer between these horizontal boxes, and the spacer is going to be like 10 on the Y. We can modify that later. So for the border, I can change the brush color to something something like this. It's fine. There you go. And then now we can add my container. So JSI container, I can add it to the first vertical box. Now, of course, because this is a tactical rig, all containers will be non-equipped to. But of course, you can mix them out just fine. So I'm going to select my first JSI container, which should have been added to the horizontal box here. There you go. Alright, so for the inventory, it's going to be the same. For number of rows, this is going to be a 2 by 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it here a couple times. And we'll do 4 of them. And then I'm going to add spacers between them. So spacer here, a spacer here, and a spacer here. There you go. So I'll make the spacer like 5 maybe, or 10. Why not? Of course, you can always modify these however you want. So select the spacer, 10, there you go. Alright, so 4 at the top and maybe 1 big container at the bottom. Why not? Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this, select my horizontal box. Well, obviously we don't need a horizontal box for this, but that's fine, just in case. So I'm going to center this. If I do fill, there you go. And this one's going to be a 2 by 2. There you go. Alright, so maybe we can have this as a a tactical rig special container. So you can of course rename these. So we can do like slot 1 maybe. Let's go ahead and copy that. F2 to rename. Select F2. Do 3 there, and then maybe 4 there, and then 5. So this is our special container for our new tactical rig. And of course, once again, you want to go to the event graph here. You want to go to class settings here, and we want to add that interface. So interface or GSI interface. There you go. And then we want to go to the interface here, get list of containers, and then we're going to go make here. So of course, this here there's no special rules. You just want to return your containers. Of course, and since we don't have any attachment types here, we don't need to, like, since it's not an attachment widget, we don't need to use the get attachment there, the get container by attachment type. So it's not important here, but you can use it for something else. There you go. So we return our 5 containers here, and I don't think we need any special special behavior. If you do, then once again you can just go here and do this. Oh, probably don't need the owner, but sure. Let's just copy these here and then paste them here. Right click, promote here to variable. Just gonna go ahead and do pickup owner. And then this, I'm going to right click, create variable, and I'm going to call it, once again, tag item reference here. So here we go. This is our special container here. Maybe we can make some padding, a general padding here. So maybe 5 or 10. Why not? There you go. So it's just like nice in the center. Okay, so now we want to make a new tactical rig pickup. So I'm going to simple pickups here. Static mesh. Now, of course, the tactical rig is a skeletal mesh that should be equipped to the character, but the pickup itself is a static mesh. It doesn't have to be a skeletal. So in this case, we'll make it a static mesh pickup, but when you pick it up and equip it, of course, you're going to equip the skeletal mesh that we will grab from the data table. So let me see the tactical rig here. So I'm going to copy this one to my tag rig folder. So I'm going to copy there, and I'm going to select it and rename it to new tag rig. Oops, I can't do that. Okay, let's just do super new tag rig. Why not? Okay, so go ahead and open that. And I don't have any. Well, I guess we can use this. That's fine. So we'll use this pickup. It's a static mesh, as you can see. So this is meant to be in the ground, as a pickup. But for the pickup itself, we'll grab it from the data table, like I said. So let's find the armor data table here. So system armor. And then I'm going to do... Well, I guess I could duplicate as well. Let's just make this quick. So duplicate the tag rig, and I'm going to name this to new tag rig. There you go. So that's row name, and the item ID is the same as the row name. The type is tactical rig. That's fine. Rarity doesn't matter. We'll leave the same icon. So we'll leave it at 3x3. That's fine. I can leave the name as well. Okay, so this is our container dimensions. We don't care about this because it's a special container. So once again, this doesn't matter. Container doesn't matter. Actor class. Let's select the new super new tactical rig. There you go. And while we add it, let's go ahead and indicate that ID and the component here. So select the pickup component and select indicate the new tag rig there. For special container here, this is very important. We're going to do new tag rig special container, which is this one right here. Okay, and of course we'll enable opening with double click here. So this is very important. Now we're going to talk about the special container dimensions. Go ahead and clear them here. So how many containers we have here in this special container? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's go ahead and add 5 entries here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. So since these containers are inventory types, they have custom dimensions like 2x1, 2x2, etc. So now you need to indicate their sizes or dimensions. If it were like to be a equip to, then at that point, like I said, we just set it to -1, -1. But now we need to indicate their actual dimensions here. So the first 4s are all 2x1, row 2, column 1. So X has to be the column, I think. Let's see, tag rig. Yes, okay. So X is the column and Y is the row. So let's go ahead and do 1x2 here for all of them. Copy, and you can paste here. Same thing here, same thing here, and of course the last one is a 2x2. So we're gonna do that here. So this is very important. If you face any issues in the MP container, then you probably didn't set these data correctly. And of course, data table is armor. So now our new tag rig. So let's go ahead and put it in the world here. Of course, this issue right here is just the pivot point. You can probably just modify it in a 3D, like in Blender or Maya, whatever. But this is just an example, so we don't really care that much. So for things like tactical rig or headphones, etc., we also need to set them in the DT equipment mesh data table. So right now, if we equip our new tactical rig, as you can see, there's nothing equipped. So we need to set that here. So we're going to our armor data table here, and we're going to copy the new tactical rig ID. Then I'm going back to DT equipment mesh data table here, and I'm going to add a new row here, and I'm going to paste that new tag rig ID. Same thing here for the item ID, and then I'm going to select what skeletal mesh gets equipped. So let's go ahead and select this yellow one here. So for headphones, for example, if we find it here, so as you can see here, headphone is the same thing, but we do specify a certain socket where headphones will be attached to the character. So now if we play and pick up that attack rig, you're gonna notice now that we do equip that yellow thing. So let's go ahead and pick it up, and as you can see, there's our special container. And of course, you can put a mag in there. Let me go ahead and duplicate this. Can also test reloading while we add it. So go ahead and pick the mag here. As you can see, it goes there. I'm gonna pick the other mag as well. All right, and then some ammo as well. There you go. Let's go put the ammo here. All right, so reloading will not work because we didn't indicate the supported IDs here. So let's go to the M4 here. So you want to go to class defaults of your weapon, and then you want to indicate the mags that are supported so that your reloading works. So in this case, we have M4 mag there. There you go. And then now we should be able to reload our mag. So pick up the tactical rig, pick up the mag here, and the weapon. So let's go. As you can see, it reloaded just fine. We have now 25. So So we have 20, we reload, we have 23. And of course, the 20 mag took its place. And of course, if it's bigger, it will go here probably. So yeah, that's how the basic reload function works. So you just indicate the supported mags here, and it will find that mag. You can of course enter multiple mags here. So before moving on, I just want to talk about weapons that don't have a mag, such as a shotgun or a Mosin. So they have like this internal mag. So the way you set up those, so let's go ahead and take a look at our shotgun here. So if we go to here, examples, and then simple pickups, skeleton, and then we have like our shotgun pickup here. So when we pick up this shotgun, you're gonna notice that it starts with 8 out of 8. As you can see here, it has like an internal mag. So you probably want to hide this, but this is also set through the default attachment. So we added a default magazine to this shotgun so that you can like, of course, the shotgun will start with a mag or internal mag automatically. And of course you can reload it as well with the shotgun shells. So just keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and check out this shotgun here. And pick up component. As you can see, we set the shotgun mag there as like a starting item for this shotgun. And then of course we just added some shotgun shell as like by default to the shotgun. And if we open this special container for this shotgun, so let's see, shotgun, find the special container, there you go. So the way you make that shotgun equipped magazine kind of faded or enabled to interact with is by calling this function right here, sit sort highlight on the equipped item. So you can use the same function on mag install, and when that happens you can simply get the equipped item and of course set the sort highlight to true, and that will make it so that you can interact with it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first example here, and just make sure that this weapon starts with those default attachments, because we need to add something else for the first example. So there you go, and we're going to put our weapon here, so M4 here. So this is only for the single player example, so that when you install or remove attachments, it gets updated visually. So what you want to do here is go to your special container here, and then of course for the site, for example, which we handled and we didn't handle actually, that's fine. So let's go ahead and handle here. So grab the site, just copy this event as well, and then of course we want to handle when this site gets equipped or removed. So add the event real quick here, on site equipped. So get the owner here, go ahead and do is valid, of course, make sure that it's valid. There you go. And so we're going to do rip install attachment by ID, and then of course this should work for both of them here. I can even add this here if I want. So you can of course bind multiple events for the same container. So let's go ahead and do on attachment equipped. So this is only for single player. So you want to just do get item ID here and put it there, if equipped, of course. So let's make sure to add that. Otherwise we'll remove attachment by ID here. So if it's not equipped, same thing here. There you go. Okay, so this one should work now for single player. Let's go ahead and make sure. Where's our weapon? Here you go. So let's go ahead and remove that site, and as you can see, it works just fine there. So this is only for single player. If you're working with multiplayer, you don't need this step right here. So let's go ahead and talk about containers. So containers is pretty straightforward. You want to go to Jigsaw Inventory system, and then pick up system here, and then so for a single player you want to create a child out of this and then put that container in the world. For multiplayer you want to create a child out of this mp main container box, so we can create a child here. So let me add a folder here, containers, and then I'm going to go back there, and then I'm going to create a child, and I'm going to call it mp, and then I'm maybe like just do like some box, for example. I can name it like mp some box, for example. Go ahead and Go ahead and move it to my containers folder there. So there you go. So now you want to open it. It inherits from MP main container. And of course you want to maybe add something to it. So you can add like a static mesh for it. And of course that static mesh can be like a box, for example. There you go. We can change the color. So visually you basically set whatever you want. So I was going to set that there. So we can like go to the class defaults here. So we'll go to the settings here. We'll make the container name if you need that. So we'll just call it new container. So container items. So we have two arrays: container items and role random items. So if you want this container to have random items, you indicate them here. So you click here and you add your item. For example, M4 mag. This M4 mag is going to be an attachment, of course. And then, of course, the chance is 50%, for example. And, of course, you want to put your box in the world or container or whatever. So now we should have a 50% chance to get a M4 mag. This time we didn't get it. Maybe next time we will. Yep, there you go, 50%. Okay, so also you want to, of course, move the widget here. I'm going to move the widget there. And for class defaults, I'm going to go back here to here. I'm just going to add some guaranteed items here. So I'm going to add like the M4 rifle. I think I named it M4 rifle. Hold on. Weapons. So I'm going to add the M4. I don't think I named the M4 rifle. So just M4. And then container items, I'm going to add a M4 mag. There you go. Count price doesn't matter. And of course, I'm going to add some M4 ammo. And of course, in this case, count matters. So M4 ammo. And then of course, the count here, I'm going to do like 45. And this is in attachments. Not local. Make sure you don't select local attachments here. Did I select this? No, I did not. So attachments. So if you can't find your item in the container, you probably forgot to set the data table. And of course, now if we play here, we're going to find 3 items. There you go. So our M4 and the mag and the ammo there. And of course, we can take whatever you want here. So it's not showing that the 00 here, or if it has a mag, of course. I'll show you later how to add default mags to a container. But for now, for this, the ammo count there, you can simply go back to your M4 special container. And then once you have this here, you can maybe... let's see. So maybe we can do like a sequence here. First we do that, we bind the events, and then maybe we can call the check status on ourselves. So select the interface call, and then we'll just call it. So basically when we set the reference, then do the checks there. So let's go ahead and verify now. And as you can see, it says 00. So this should take care of it. So now for the custom behavior of this container. So you want to open your MP sumbox, the child class of your MP main container, the one we just created. And then you want to go to add new here, and then you want to override the onDataBuilt function. So that this function gets called when the data is built on the container. So onData, let me search for it here. So let me, if I can find it. onDataBuilt, there you go. So once you do, select that from the override here, so you will override the parent function. So this is where we add our custom behavior for this MP container. And so since we have some weapons here, maybe we want to add some mags to these weapons. So for this one, we're going to search for all for our rifle here, or all rifle types if you want. So we'll look for containers. So in our container, we have 2 arrays: MP containers and MP container items. MP containers are containers like a backpack or a weapon, whereas MP container items are things such as ammo, things that don't have containers inside of them. So this time we'll try to search for our container here, which is the rifle here. So I want to add some, I want to add a mag to this rifle. So let's go ahead and break here. So this is only done in on server. So you can even make sure to do has authority here. So if I am the server, then I can do it here. So it is a container, of course it is a container. So I can search by ID here, as you can see, item info only displays 3 because this is a smaller version of the if item info, the bigger one. But if you want to get the bigger one, you can call the get info from data table, and you can like do this here in data table, and you should get the bigger version here, which has all these things. But of course, for optimization purposes, we have this rep item info structure, which is more easier to replicate. But in our case here, we're working on server, so it doesn't matter. So I want to search for my M4 here. So if item ID equals to M4, there you go. Go ahead and hide those things. So if it's equal to M4, then I will add a mag to it. So let's go ahead and do add mag to container. So this add mag to container, it should probably work for other things, such as maybe you want to add an item by default to a backpack. You can use this function, or you can duplicate it and modify it. But in general, it wants a item reference. So we'll get, okay, so since it wants a reference, not a copy, let's get a reference here. So once again, do get by ref here. So we'll grab that, and then we'll pass it here. So what we want to add here, so to index, container index 0 is always the mag, remember. So that's why I said return 0. Return the mag as the first item in the special container. So container index is going to be the magazine here. Mag ID, and we're going to add M4 mag ammo ID. So if we want to add some ammo to this mag, we can do that as well. But for now, let's leave it empty. So if we try with this one, let's see if we successfully added the mag to this weapon. So there, as you can see, we added a mag to this weapon. So of course, if you want to add ammo to that mag inside of the weapon, you can of course say M4 ammo here, and then maybe say 30. Let's see if that works. And as you can see now, the weapon has 30 bullets by default from the container. So here, for example, if you have like a tactical rig and you want to have, you want to add some ammo to it by default, you can also use this function here. So we can, for example, let's see, let's go ahead and add that tactical rig here. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to add the new tac rig. And of course, I'm going to change this to armor. And now I can search for this tactical rig here. So now I can say, okay, if the ID equals to this, you can probably organize this a little bit better. But for this, for our quick example, it doesn't matter. So if it's a tactical rig, then I can probably add like some ammo to it. You can like do this like multiple times. So you just need to indicate the container index. So at first you're going to add it to 0, then to 1, then 2. But for our purposes here, we're going to add it to once to the container 0 here, and then return. So if you want to exit a function, just call return. So we want to add it to the first index. It's going to be an M4 mag, and then M4 ammo and 30. So now we should have a tactical rig here that has a magazine with ammo. There you go. So of course it works for anything that has a special container. And so of course, like I said, if you want to add more, we can add 2 mags. Why not? Let's go ahead and do that. So it's going to be the same process, except that now we're going to add it to index 1. So index 0 is of course the first container and the tactical rig. And now I have 2 mags here with 30 bullets. This function is very nice. And of course you can expand this to like do more stuff. It doesn't have to be a magazine. So that would be an MP container. Now of course the same thing applies to the first example. Just instead of using the MP box, you want to use the other version, which is for single player. So if you go MP containers, so we have like this main container box. This is not replicated. And if you were in this first example, use this one. Just create a child and do the same thing. It also has the same array and everything. And for vendors as well, so it's the same concept. You just create a child. You can call this like weapons vendor, for example. And of course you can like place him in the world, or you can do it here first. You can go to the class defaults, modify the visual of the vendor, change the the thing, but class defaults, and you should have settings here, vendor name and items. So for items, you can simply say, okay, I want this guy to sell an M4. One, of course, will count this is the stock. So let's just say that this guy sells 50 rifles for now. And the price, of course, we can do like 500, for example. The other table is weapons. And the same thing here. You can, of course, make him sell other weapons. But for now, we're going to make him sell a mag. So M4 mag. And this is going to be count like maybe 20 mags. Why not? Price is 20 or 25. 25, and this is going to be from attachments. Attachment, here we go. So now if we place this guy in the world and interact with him, we should get a window where this guy sells 50 rifles and 20 magazines. This is just the stock. So if you buy one, it's going to go to 49, etc. If you sell one, of course, that stock will increase. So yeah, that's basically vendors. So it works for both single and multiplayer example. So the same thing here for crafting. You want to go to examples here, or system, sorry. You want to go to system, you want to pick up system, and then crafting, and then you want to go to, this is the crafting station here. So this is the main crafting station. So if you want to create a new station, you just right click, create a child. So my new station. And then of course you want to put it here. And of course you want to add some static mesh to it or whatever. So skeletal mesh. And then we'll select these mannequin. Escape mannequin. For some reason I have two. And then we can make some use anim asset, and we can search for third person idle. There we go. Okay. So that's good enough. Let's go ahead and put him in the world. And he's going to face here. So make this guy a crafting station. Alright, so but for now we need to make sure we actually trace this guy. So we want to go to collision here. So let's see, collision, custom. So we'll make it a query only this time. So if you're just looking for line traces, query is pretty nice. So world, static, sure. We'll make it ignore everything and block visibility. And let's see what this guy can craft. If we go to class default here, craft something, that's the name, it's fine. So let's make this guy craft our M4 and the mag. So crafting item is going to be the M4, and it's going to be from the weapons data table. And then for the M4 mag is going to be from the attachment data table. There you go. And now we need to make sure that we have some recipe for these for these items. So if I go to M4 here and then scroll all the way down, I should have this crafting recipe, and I think I have nothing there. Okay, so crafting recipe, we have nothing now. So time to craft, let's make it a 5 seconds. And then crafting materials, and then this is where you set your materials. And these materials are taken from crafting ingredients. So if we open that, of course you can use another data table if you want. So in this data table, you have like mat, mat 2, mat 3, and 4, and 5. So it's just you need a certain amount of of these mats to create this item. So in our case, it's a rifle M4. So we'll say, okay, we need mat 1, and the amount is going to be we need 5. And then I'm going to add another requirement, and this time is going to be a mat 2, and we need 10. So this is for the M4, and of course for the mag here we can go to the attachments. So attachments, M4 mag, and I can of course enter some crafting. I think there's already something in here. Yeah, so since we duplicated one of those, it has those. So it wants 20 from mat 1 and 9 from mat 2, which is fine. We'll leave it at that. So now let's go ahead and make sure that we can actually interact with this guy. So yeah, we can. So crafting something is the name. We didn't change it. So if I press F, as you can see, this guy crafts 2 things. So the M4 and the mag. And this one wants 5 and that wants 10. And of course, if we have some materials, we can then start crafting. So for crafting items here, we can go to examples, simple pickup, static mesh, crafting, and we have these crafting materials. They're simple pickups, so let's go ahead and put this guy here, and of course do some duplication there. And So now let's go ahead and play here, and I'm going to pick these items, and let's see if I can craft now. So I have 2 craftable items. This one wants 20 and 9, and then 5, 10. So make sure you have enough space here. Of course, the item will go to a secure container or backpack. So if you click on start crafting, it's going to be added here, and you can't interact with it. So after 5 seconds, we should now have our M4 here, and we can, of course, equip it. And of course, same for mag, etc. So this is crafting, pretty much similar to vendor and MP. So you simply add your items in the crafting station, and then of course in the data table is where you indicate the recipe or like the items that are needed, generally from a certain data table. In our case here, they're taken from the crafting data table. So we have these mat 1, 2, 3, 4. They could be items, it could be anything. As for the first example, it's the same thing, except now you use the offline crafting station. So you want to create a child from this or duplicate this one, and of course modify it the same way, and it should work just fine. Let's go ahead and talk about AI. So if you go to the system here, and then pick up system, and then lootable AI, and then we have this lootable AI parent. Let's go ahead and open the child. So we have these 2 already set up. So we're going to make an AI that has an M4 and a tactical rig with some ammo in it. So I'm going to right click here and do duplicate, and I'm going to call it M4 AI, and then I'm going to open that, and here in the viewport I can of course customize the look here. So for the rifle here, so we're gonna go ahead and select that M4, then I'm going to select the socket here, so M4 socket, and there you go. So this guy now has an M4 equipped, and then we can maybe, I mean, we can leave everything as is, it's fine. So basically you want to modify the look of your AI here. So the most important thing here is that we want to make this AI lootable on death. So when we kill this AI, we want to loot the M4, mags, etc. So we can, in the begin play here, you want to always call the parent begin play. Make sure that we are the server, and then we're going to call in the equip AI by slot. So we're going to equip a primary weapon, and it's going to be the M4, and then the data table is weapons. And the equip AI by slot once again, so we're gonna do a tactical rig this time, and it's going to be, let's see, let me find the ID here. So new tag rig is what we want to put here. So new tag rig, and of course going to be from the armor. So far this will equip a M4 and tactical rig lootable. So now the next step of course is to add some extra stuff for in the tactical rig, as well as this M4. So what we can do here is we can, so since this inherits from the MP lootable AI parent, we need to override a certain function. So we want to override the on loot box spawn. So this function right here gives us access to the loot box that got spawned when the AI is dead. So what I can do here is I can get the containers, find my M4, and then add some magazine to it. But let's try to find the tactical rig here. So we're going to find the we're going to look through the containers. So get MP containers here, and then we're going to look for that tactical rig. So new tac rig here. So we're going to compare the ID here. So let's get break the item info and make sure if this ID equals to this ID right here, so we can hide these to make things a little bit cleaner. And so if this is a tactical rig, we're going to add a magazine to it, or a couple magazines. So I can do get special container just to get this parameter here. You don't have to wire everything from there, you can just look for it here, which is pretty nice. So we're going to do add mag to container. And of course it wants a reference, and then we can get this. Unfortunately we have to grab it again. So I'm just gonna gonna do this. So since we need a reference, this is a copy, so we need a reference so that we can modify it. So I can just do current index So this will be our current index there. So just so that we can clean things a little bit. Let's grab it from the local variables here. So this is our tactical rig. So we're going to put it there and index 0 and 1. So we're going to add 2 mags to this tactical rig. So it's going to be the same thing here. This time it's going to be index 1. And so the mag is going to be M4 mag. And so it's the same thing here. And of course the ammo is going to be M4 ammo once again. And of course the here of course you can maybe keep track of how many ammo the AI shot or things like that. So for our case here, we're going to add 2 magazines to the AI. So let's go ahead and test our AI first. Go ahead and get rid of these 2, and then we'll spawn our M4 AI. So okay, so I'm going to put in my M4 AI here, and then I'm going to play, and then so I'm going to grab my M4 here. I'm going to attempt to loot the AI. So let's see if I can loot the tactical rig. And as you can see, we have the tac rig here added with 2 magazines already. So if it's not a tac rig, we can see if it's a M4. So I'm going to compare here the ID, and I'm going to say, hey, is this an M4? And then I'm going to add a magazine to it. So same thing here. And it's pretty much the same thing here. Container 0 is always the mag in a special container. And here we do have track of how many ammo the AI shot. So we can do current ammo here if you want. Or also you can do whatever you want there. So right now we should probably have a weapon with a mag in it. And there you go. So this guy had 8 by default, so I guess we just didn't change it when we created child. So he has 8 ammo, which is fine, and that the reason is simply that this is by default set to 8. So you can set this to 30, and the AI should have 30. This, like I said, is updated when the AI shoots, so you can even test it if you want. So let's go ahead and test it. I'm going to press G to let the AI shoot, and then let him shoot like a couple times, and then he should have 27 shots because he fired 3 bullets. And of course, confirm. There you go. Okay. So yeah, that's AI. So I think that's pretty much it for these 2 examples. Of course, as new updates comes in, I will make follow-up videos. So I will make another video about working with GSI in general, because like without the examples, because at first when I released this product, the reason or the intent was that you can make any inventory style or system using those 2 widgets, GSI container and GSI slots. So you can make your own system, you can handle all its events, and of course make anything, any inventory system you want or layout. So that was like the initial intent. So my next video probably is going to be about that, like not using the examples, only using Jigsaw, and then creating your own system with it. And of course, you're going to be able to handle all the events of GSI and determine what should happen. You know, if it's replicated, then maybe we'll communicate with the server and then wait a response and then do whatever we want. Or if it's a single player, we can just handle the events and directly apply the action. So we'll see that. I think it's pretty very exciting stuff. If you're looking to learn about UE4 in general, because we'll be talking about some new concepts and some concepts of UE4, such as replication, such as static skeletal meshes, etc., blueprints in general. So stay tuned for that. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, or you can contact me via email or in Discord. And of course, if I have forgotten something in this video, please let me know so I can do maybe a follow-up video. But until then, stay safe and see you later. Goodbye.